please adjust your seats so you can see? Before we get started with connecting the dots today, I want to tell you a story. Last month, when you were here, I was not. Last month, when you were here, I was in Saginaw, Michigan. Woo! Saginaw, Michigan. And actually, last month, when you were here, I was sitting down to dinner. Because, and the reason Holly has pictures is because the first thing I do when I sit down to dinner and I get to go out to eat is I look at the wine menu. Priorities, priorities. So I'm looking at the wine menu and I'm looking at this wine, I'm thinking, I think this is the wine that Holly likes. So I take my phone, I take a picture, and I send it to her. Now I forget that Holly is here with you last month. So I get this text back from Holly, and it goes something like this. Oh, Jamie, tough night tonight with the GVC liaisons.
I could use that picture.
And I think I said something like, bummer, better have 2 glasses of wine. So then I order dinner. Great steak, I mean, nice restaurant. So I take a picture and I send it to Holly. And I get something back like, seriously, they're a tough audience tonight. Not funny. And then I text back, then I guess I better have dessert. So, Holly, thank you. I so enjoyed last month. And I hear that a lot of you, did not. And so I, first of all, want to take a moment and introduce myself, because it was brought to my attention that we start and we do the strange transition and nobody knows who anybody is. So that's one of the first things that I'd like to rectify tonight, is do an introduction of myself and my colleagues. And the other thing I want to do is apologize. We would like to apologize to you because we know that we are asking you to do, you're on probably the most difficult leadership team in the district. At a time, and I know you're going to be shocked, at a time when Douglas County is going through a lot of change. And we're like, sign them up, send them out there, they'll be great. And so you come, you're in the trenches, you're getting beaten on by children and everybody else, and you come here. We apologize for being a downer, not being positive, and not being good listeners. And so we would like to rectify that tonight, hence why we tried to do things a little differently with asking elementary to wait and not come in the middle of secondary. We were also looking at better options for where we meet. We were also looking for better options of when we meet, because we realized that secondary rushes in, we rush, then we throw elementary on top, and we pretend we all like each other. I told my husband, he said, where are you going? To hang out with 70 of my favorite people in Douglas County. And then we ship off the secondary people, and secondary people, you should see the looks on the elementary faces, because they're like, they get to go. And we have to stay here for another hour. So we are looking at other options, because we realize this is difficult work. So I'd like to go first. My name's Jamie Bailey. I drink red wine, Tempranillo, and I am in my first and a quarter year in Douglas County Schools.
I'm Holly Voorhees Carmichael. She drank my Tempranillo.
Yes!
My parents have been in Douglas County in the microphone for 7 years almost now. Literacy and then curriculum, and I am predominantly secondary, English language arts, social studies, and then electives.
I'm Christy Pegg, and I'm the Career and Technical Education Coordinator for the district. So anything from automotive, ProStart, culinary arts, business marketing, anything like that in the high schools, I oversee all those programs, and this is my 6th year in the district.
I'm Gretchen Hazelwood, and I drink Diet Dr. Pepper. And And I am the curriculum coordinator for math in the district, primarily secondary, because we're hopefully getting someone else to help out soon. And I've been in the district 11 years, I believe.
And I'm Remy Rommel. I'm the new ESL coach for the district for K-12, and I'm really close to that. I don't think it's giving good feedback. I've been in the district for 9 years, and so this is my new role this year, and I drink whatever is served.
And I'm with you, sweetie. And over here we have Judy Arneson. Judy, wave.
Okay, do you guys want to know how long I've been with the district?
I just have to tell everybody, I've been in the district so long, my employee number is 10.
Woo! And one of the things, and Judy drinks a lot because she's been here a long time. Did I say that out loud? So one of the things that Judy does is Judy's videotaping these because we are trying to build capacity in the district. Tuesday morning, Judy and I spent an hour and a half together looking at some Gouda videos that she's taken, looking at different clips so we can begin to build our own Edutopia videos for the district for different stages of backwards design, of things going on, because we realize face-to-face all of the time might be a tad exhausting. So, here's what we're going to do. You have a very large piece of paper. Please flip it over where there's no writing on the front. And for those of you who have done this exercise, please play nice. Who loves this exercise? I love this woman.
No,
okay.
I do.
You love this exercise. Awesome. On your piece of paper, you're going to draw 3 rectangles better than I did. 3 rectangles bigger than I did in the middle of your page. We are trying to connect the dots. We are trying to show you how this all fits together, to relieve some of your angst about why are we doing some of these things when I thought I signed up to be the GVC liaison. So in Douglas County, what right now comes in 3s? When you think of 3s, what do you think of? Backwards planning. Christy Jean Duda, would you write backwards planning for me? Backwards planning. What's the first box? Stage 1. So please, in your first box, write stage 1. You guys should be pros at stage 1. What happens in stage 1? EUs, enduring understandings, awesome. EQs, essential questions, wonderful. Big ideas. World-class outcomes. This is a very gifted group, Judy. Keep the camera on them. World-class outcomes. One more thing has to be in stage 1.
The essential, critical.
The 4 C's. The critical one, the 4 C's, that's right. Technical difficulties with the camera. Okay, what's the second box? Stage 2, what's stage 2? Assessment, awesome. Now, my fellow colleagues, everybody that I know plans backwards. We're all doing this. What we're asking at a district level is to take it up a notch. In 1997, I spent 3 days with Wiggins and McTighe in New Orleans. You can drink a lot in New Orleans. Just saying. So I spent 3 days with Wiggins McTighe in New Orleans. They have rewritten their books many times. They have also evolved. When I came to Douglas County, the expectations about backwards design was up here compared to what I got from the gurus in 1997. So what you know about backwards design is great. The fact that you do it already and you plan for kids, this is what we are all about. We get up in the morning and we say we're going to bring our best game and we're going to help those kids. You're already doing it. We're just asking you to take it up a notch. We're going to show you how it aligns with everything you do. Stage 1, is curriculum. Stage 2 is assessment. What is stage 3? Instruction. Yes. The teaching part.
So the gentleman here said both learning and instruction.
Yes.
So stage 3 is both learning and instruction. Nice. Above the 3 boxes, please draw 6 rectangles. 6 rectangles above those 3 boxes. And just for kicks and giggles, let's number them 1 to 6. So, my fellow educators in Douglas County Schools, what do we know comes in 6? Site standards. There are 6 site standards. You can number it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So check this out. You can connect dots here. I'm an elementary teacher. I'm all about connecting the dots. I can go from here. Stage 1 is Site Standard 1. Because Site Standard 1 is about planning your instruction for world-class outcomes. So breathe, relax about Site Standard 1. When you're doing backwards planning, you're doing Site Standard 1. When you're doing backwards planning, that's the evidence you're going to keep for your body of evidence. Care to guess what Site Standard 2 is? Assessment. Woo! Care to guess what Site Standard 3 is? Instruction. Do you see the alignment? One of my former principals, Rose Lay, is a principal in Salida, Colorado. They are part of the state pilot for the site standards. When I told her what we were doing in Douglas County, she goes, ooh, that's a lot smarter than what we did. I said, what? We're smarter? She said, yeah, we just took the state version and it doesn't align with what we're doing. So the district aligned stage 1, site standard 1. Now, I'm going to tell you about where we screwed up. And again, I know you're going to be shocked when I tell you this. Now, and I know this will come as a surprise, but sometimes at the ad building, we work in silos. Sometimes the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. I know you're shocked. So we were calling as our work with the GVC learning targets. Backwards planning calls them outcomes, and Site Standard calls them world-class outcomes. So I was at a principal meeting 2 months ago, and the principal screamed at the assistant superintendent and said, you have got to get your act together. And I was in the audience. I was like, you're right. If it's an apple, we have to call it an apple. We can't do tomato, tomato. We have to call it the same thing. So we are working on cleaning that up because we do not need to add any more stress to what's already going on in the district. So we are taking that very seriously, even though I'm a smart aleck. We're taking it seriously. Okay. Site standard 4, I call the don't be mean to children standard. Climate. I don't know any teacher who gets up in the morning and says, boy, I'm going to screw those kids up today. You know, we bring our best game. So that's 4. 5 is leadership, collegiality. It is what you are doing now. Every time you go back and you do something with your staff for this work, you are doing Site Standard 5, and you probably need to document it, take a picture, make a copy, put it in your e-portfolio, because Site Standard 5 is what you are doing right now. You are in a leadership position. Site Standard 6, Senate Bill 191. It is the achievement and the growth from the state. That is out of our sandbox. Senate Bill 191 happens to everybody in the state of Colorado. Kathy, I found out that growth is in there. I know, so we're excited. Now, below, I want you to draw this shape. Anybody recognize this shape? Don't write it yet. The GVC. So below stage 1, you have the GVC. What does that triangle thingy mean in that GVC? Why do we have the Bloom's taxonomy triangle in the GVC? This is the audience participation part. Why do you have the Bloom's taxonomy in the GVC? To remember to focus on what's at the top. Please write W.
Oh, I thought you meant after I said sorry.
No worries. Now I can't remember. What are they called? World-class outcomes, right? WCO. That top part of the GVC is the world-class outcomes. So when language arts got together, this is where we went above the state. When science got together, math got together, social studies got together, when we worked together, that top box is where we went above the state. That was great work. We're going to preserve that work and beef it up. We're not throwing it away. We're going to keep that great work, and we're just going to strengthen it a bit. It's an upgrade. It is not a throwing away anybody's work. And that would be my husband. So, connect stage 1 to the GVC. When you do stage 1, what do you use? That's right. You use the GVC. You need enduring understandings, you need essential questions, you need big ideas, you need world-class outcomes with the 4 C's infused. Hence, the conversation about upgrading the GVC to get that in there to make it easier to do stage 1. I've been going to buildings and talking about this. About 85% of the people like it. About 15% don't. And that's okay. Below stage 2, I want you to draw a right triangle. I know. What does the right triangle stand for? Balanced assessment. And you're going to divide it into 3 parts. Yes, you may. You're going to divide it into 3 parts. And you have a leader in your building, and it might be you. You may have been shafted and drafted to do this too. You have a leader in your building who's part of the Balanced Assessment group, the BAS advocates. What's that bottom part of that right triangle? What's that part? Form an assessment. You do that every day. When you're walking around the room and you're watching kids and you're listening to your kids and you're doing a quick check, you got dry erase boards, exit tickets, clickers. That's your formative assessment. What's in the middle? Interim. 2008 CAP for Kids, that was the bill that said every district will have interim assessments. Care to guess when they're due? Exactly. Next year, 2014. See, this was planned in 2008. That's why we're working towards getting those interim assessments. And what is at the top? Summative assessment. So raise your hand if you went to GUDA this summer. Now, here, I'm going to apologize to you. Because guess what? We screwed up. We did have you do assessment in stage 2. And we did have you focus on summative assessment in stage 2. But we have also been attending more trainings from Dr. Fagan and Dana Strother, Chief Academic Officer for Elementary. And guess what else you have to have in stage 2?
Interim informative.
So when you plan your stage 2, you have to have a balanced assessment, which, by the way, will be measured in Site Standard 2. So connect the dots. Underneath stage 3, draw a rectangle. Don't know why we're drawing a rectangle. It's because I don't know a different shape at this point. In this rectangle, I want you to write RTI. I want you to write differentiated instruction. I want you to write progressions. So, stage 1, I plan for the end, the outcomes, with the ceiling. Why do I not plan for the floor? Why do I plan for the ceiling? We want them to reach it. And we want them to grow. So we have to have high expectations in stage 1. That's why we have those world-class outcomes. That's why they're high. In stage 3, this is where we think about the learning trajectory. How do we get the kids to go from here to here to here to here to the top, to those outcomes? Flip this sheet over. Oh, connect the dots and then flip it over. This is a progression for Colorado Standard 2.1. So when you look at the progression and you go to that bottom box, they've been reorganized, they've been bloomed. They weren't rewritten. This is the state, the Common Core. We are held accountable for those standards. But I'm not going to plan a unit for second graders on who, what, where, when, why, and how. And that is a standard for second grade reading that they can tell you who, what, where, when, why, how. I'm going to plan for kids being strategic and making meaning and having them do who, what, where, when, how, and be able to tell a summary in second grade. Those are the pathways I'm going to use to get them there. So that bottom box, that's the lowest level of the Colorado standards for literary text. If you take in the bottom box that green text and you read it horizontally, you'll notice something. What do you notice when you read that green text from left to right? It progresses. So it goes from tell me who, what, where, when, why, asking and answering questions who, what, where, when, why, and how at second grade, to asking and answering questions, and now I have to refer to the text in third grade. And in fourth grade, I have to use details from the text and cite what it says explicitly. Do you see how that skill evolves? So when I am in stage 3, and I'm trying to get my kids those world-class outcomes, it's this that helps me figure out, what do I do for the kid who's already there? What do I do for the kid who's not there? Dr. Fagan, when she does her training, she says, in stage 3, you have off ramps. You have exit ramps. You have on ramps. When I was teaching 5th grade, even though there was a 5 on the door, I had kids down here who needed 3rd grade, 2nd grade things, and I had kids up here who were doing 7th and 8th grade things. The current GVC only lets you look at your grade. GVC2, in the evolution of the GVC, if you can click on the bottom to something like this, then you can look at your grade for the standards and more. Because I don't know about your classrooms, but the number on the door may not match all the different abilities in the classroom. So as a member of the GVC liaisons, you're thinking, I thought we were just going to do this year. And you're right. You're part of our vetting, you're part of our feedback, you are our first audience as we do this work. But it also aligns to stage 1 of backwards design, because people need to know, why do I need to use the GVC? Why would I not just go to the state standards? This is the why that secondary saw in that video. Why do I need to do this? And frankly, these two tie together. Because as I am working up the sophisticated level to the world-class outcomes, I'm going to be using my formative and working on my interim and growing to my summative. So knowing about assessment is also part of being a member of the GVC. So even some of the feedback we have is, I didn't know I was signing up for all this other stuff. It's connected. It's a system. So while our lens is here at the GVC, it also connects to other things going on. Yes, ma'am. The question is, what do the colors indicate on the progression? This is probably my 8th version, and I was taking it out to elementary schools, and every time I'd take it out, one of the elementary schools would say, well, you know what would make it better, Jamie? So I'd go back to the office, and I'd try something to make it better. The last time I was out, someone said, these colors need to mean something. Now, you need to know emergenetically wise, if that's a word, I am 51% yellow. I am 34% blue. I don't own green. So I need you to tell me things like, hey, these colors should mean something. And now they do, 5 versions later. So Holly's going to give me what the real word is, because Justin from assessment can tell us what the real word is. But the red in the box is the most sophisticated skill in each box. Now, Justin's got a real name for that. What's it called? So Justin from assessment, when he looks at this, he says, you know, the interim assessment's not going to be all those little blue and green little things. An interim assessment's going to be made up of bigger, more rigorous standards on an interim assessment. Priority standards. Thank you, Gretchen. So the red are more of the priority. That's it. The other ones below are the supporting. So the red, as a teacher, I'm not going to write a test where I check out with my 2nd graders who, what, where, when, why, how, because I can do that with observation. But I certainly want to measure their ability to do a retelling. And if a kid can't do the retelling, then maybe I'm going to go back and teach that skill. Other questions?
How does this fall in place with, you know, as a secondary teacher, how does this system fall in place with other expectations that are placed on us, like AP, IB, you know, things like that we have to deal with?
So I don't know about AP and IB. I do know that there are progressions in the standards that go from kindergarten through 12th grade. So the progressions will go from kindergarten through 12th grade. They are easier to find in English language arts because of the Common Core, and in mathematics. They are harder to find in the other subject areas. So,
but they are defined in other subject areas.
So my answer is,
In AP and IB and ACT.
everybody plans for the world-class outcomes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to push a little bit from where a high school teacher or a high school perspective comes from. You know, we have to incorporate IB concepts, AP concepts, ACT concepts, TCAP concepts. And so when you look at this, I want to know how it becomes a streamlined process for us.
TCAP is the state standards.
TCAP's only one element of what a high school goes through.
Holly?
And so I guess, I mean, that's the question of what we're faced with in secondary.
So it's the same thing that you were faced with the previous standards and the standards before that. And I mean, it's always been an issue that you've been faced with. You still teach with the standards in mind. You still have that. That doesn't go away. We're upping them. We are looking at world-class outcomes as higher. You would still incorporate what you need to for AP and for IB. You're not going to take those expectations away, but you incorporate them like you always have. I know I talked with world language AP teachers a couple of, probably about a month ago, and they're creating their enduring understandings connected to the themes that they have. So when we create our GVC documents and we say, these are really good enduring understandings, do you have to use those? Jamie, do they have to use the enduring understandings that we create?
No.
No. So if you have enduring understandings that are world-class and that really high quality and global so they can connect from one subject to another, then use them. Absolutely. Why would you recreate that wheel? So you'll still do the same thing that you've always done. There are different expectations on secondary with many different assessments, but we don't teach to the assessment. When we have high quality teaching and use those upper high standards of thinking 4 C's, 21st century, the kids get there. I mean, all the research shows that they still get there. So I think we'll be okay in high school.
I guess my question is, have these been cross-referenced with, say, ACT's college readiness.
We're not connecting them to ACT college readiness because that's not what we teach too. That is something that high school uses for college readiness, but if we're teaching high quality outcomes, they will be ready.
I'm in charge of concurrent enrollment, which is where the students get dual credit for high school and college. They get college and high school credit for classes. And so I do know that some of my teachers have sat down and taken the 1.0 GVC outcomes and tried to align it with their syllabus from the concurrent classes and have said, okay, it's not that there's direct alignment, but there is alignment. And so when I've now discussed the GVC 2.0 version with them, they're like, oh wow, this goes way beyond. And so they plan on having those conversations with the deans at ACC and CCA to show them that we're going above and beyond even what they're asking.
So the next thing we're going to do is assess where we are as a GVC group, as well as where you are in implementation in your buildings and at the building level. So I am going to have you in a minute get up and move. You've been sitting for a while, and I think we need some collaboration and some discussion for a minute. And if you are sitting at this table, you do not have to move your things, and you don't have to move away, but just make sure that the text on the posters can be seen. So if you just slide your laptop over, there just needs to be a little bit of room for dots and for text to be read. So don't feel like you have to move, and I apologize for that. There just wasn't a good place to hang posters all over the building. So what you're going to think about, on your tables, you have some papers that were turned face down, as well as some dots. You are going to get up. I encourage you to actually stand up, find somebody to talk to about where you are in your implementation of GVC, your understanding of GVC according to this. Now, this is not necessarily a very threaded continuum, but it's just to get an idea about where you are in your implementation, what level of understanding at your building. And then once you've discussed that with someone, where you are and where you aren't, and why you are where you are and why you are where you aren't. So 2 things there. Then you're going to take a clear dot, completely anonymously, put your dot on the charts that are over here. So they do have text. They are in the exact same order, left to right, so you don't have to actually go and read every chart. They're in the same order as on your paper. So that's what your task is for the next couple of minutes. Get up, talk to each other. Where are you? Where aren't you? And why? Go for it.